Hello, Helen here. Thank you for joining me while I make another card. Today's card I'm going to do a ink smooshed background, so I'm going to use Coral Reef from the Pink Fresh Studios Heartbeat set, and I'm also going to use Tiara and Tiki Torch from the Catherine Pooler Party Collection, and I'm just going to smoosh them down on my glass mat here, just varying the colours in an area, and then I'm going to spritz it with some water and put some Tim Holtz watercolour paper down and smush it around just so that I get a mix, and then I'm going to dry it a bit in between with my heat tool, and then I'm just going to add a little bit more of the pink, the corally sort of colour, because I wanted that to be more prominent. So I'll put that down on my mat, spritz it again, and then re-smush the watercolour paper down. I do sop up some of the extra ink and water around the edge just with a paper towel, and when I'm happy with that I'll just dry it again with a heat tool just so that I can go on to the next stage. When I go in to re-ink it, I'm just going to do it in certain spots where I felt it was a little bit light, or that I wanted a little bit more of the pinky coral sort of colour. So I'm just randomly picking areas that I just wanted to make a bit stronger in colour. The next step I'm going to do is some glitter paste through a stencil over the ink smushing. Now you could definitely miss this step completely, but I just decided I wanted a little bit of sparkle in the background of my flowers for the finished card. So I've got a pack of quite cheap stencils in a variety from AliExpress, and I'm just tossing up which ones I want to use, and I think I'm going to pick the leafy sort of design. It was a mix between that one and the Sunburst Altenew stencil, which is a lovely stencil, but I think I'm going to go with the leaf one this time. So I've stuck my inked background that's now dry onto a board with some painter's tape, and I'll just stick down the stencil on a sort of angle and just put some tape on the corners just to secure it a little bit, and then I'll just spread the Nouveau glimmer paste, it's the Moonstone one, onto the stencil, just not right to the edges. I'm wanting it to be quite random around the edges, quite sort of broken looking. So I'll just spread that all over and then scrape off any excess and put it back into the pot to reuse again. And then I'm going to set that aside and let it dry completely, just still stuck down to my board so that it doesn't buckle while it's drying. And then I'll go ahead and do the stamping and colouring of my flowers that are going to go on the top. I made sure I went and washed the stencil on my palette knife straight away in warm soapy water, because the glimmer paste doesn't take very long to dry, and it does stay on really securely if you leave it on there, so I always make sure I wash it straight after. Now I've got the stamp set Kind Reminder, which has got two lovely big blooms on it, and I've got the stencil set that goes with it that you can do the colouring in with it. So I'm going to stamp the two flowers from the set with Versafine Onyx black ink onto a scrap piece of white card, and then I'll use the stencil to do it. The stencil's quite clever because the two images are mirror images of each other as far as the flower goes, and then the leaves are a little bit different, which makes the blooms look different. But when you come to do the stenciling, you can have the main background stencil and colour that in with one of the blooms, and then you flip it over and use the back and it fits perfectly for the other flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the same pinky colour that I used for the smooshing background. So that's Coral Reef. And so I'll do both blooms with that and clean the stencil in between, because I'm going to be flipping it over, so it's going to be down on the colouring that I've already done. And then I'll do the other flower with the same colour background, and I'm just making sure with my the Altenew blending brush that I just go backwards and forwards in all directions, just to make sure that I'm getting it in right round the edges as well as the centre of the stenciling. And then I'll go ahead and do the second layer, which is also on the same stencil with the slightly darker colour out of that same set called Passion Fruit. So I'll do that for both flowers. I ended up getting one of the sets of the Altenew smaller blending brushes, which comes in a set of 4, and I'm going to use that for doing the second layer of the flower and also the leaves, because you had a little bit more control and you didn't spread it quite so far. That's what I've used the post-it notes for, because the other stencils are actually quite close to the one you're using, so you needed to mask it off so that you didn't get more ink onto your cardboard underneath. But the smaller brushes allowed me just to be a little bit more precise where I did the inking. And then I'll go ahead and do the green, 2 tones of green using the Altenew, it's Frayed Leaf and Forest Glades, and I'll do the 2 layers of all the different leaves that are around the flowers with those 2 colours. So I'll come back and see you when I've done that. Now that my background's nice and dry, I'm going to stick it down onto my card base. So I've put some double-sided tape onto that. I've also trimmed one edge of the inked background, and I'm going to put that onto the folded edge first, and then what I'll do is take the backing off the tape and stick the rest down, and then turn it over and trim it all the way around to fit the card base. I've also fussy cut out the flowers now that they're finished being inked, and I've also stamped a sentiment from the Altenew Birthday greetings set, and I've stamped that onto white card as well, and then I've fussy cut that out all the way around the sentiment, and I'll stick some double-sided foam on the back of that, and I've stuck some double-sided foam on the one flower that I thought I was going to do at the top of the card, and that was going to be the card. And you could definitely leave it like that, it would be perfectly fine, but I decided I might as well just use the other flower as well, seeing I've stamped and stenciled that one. So I play around with what side I'm going to put it on, and I decide that I'm going to put it on the right hand side at the bottom there, and change where I was going to have the sentiment. So I can now take the backing off of the double-sided foam and stick those down. Finally, I'm decided I'm just going to dot a few pink gems. I've got 2 sizes around, just 2 or 3 here and there. So I'll use my gel picker and the Gina K Connect glue, which is a good strong glue, and just stick a few down, and then that's the card finished. I'll leave you looking at a couple of close-ups of the card. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, as it helps promote my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to get notifications when I put the next video up. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.